Good morning and welcome to the show, and happy Monday. It's Medical Monday, and I'm here with Dr. Roman Nation from Nation's Best Family Healthcare, right up here in Lynn Haven, and also on Panama City Beach, too. Welcome back to the show, Doc.
Good morning.
How you feeling today?
Pretty good.
Good. All right. Daylight savings time.
Yes.
It's here, and we're all still kind of adjusting. I know I am, you know.
Yeah, it kicked into gear with and spring break just started up.
That's kind of God's cruel joke, isn't it? Daylight savings time along with spring break. And
actually, it's the government who came up with that one.
The government's
if they just kept it
cruel
on daylight
joke.
savings time, I'd be happier because, you know, you get more stuff. Most people do more stuff in the evenings.
Yeah,
So,
I would think so, you know. There are some states that opt out of that too. You know,
I think it was only two. I think it's Hawaii and Arizona are the only two in the U.S. that do that.
Yeah, it used to be Illinois as well, but they decided to
Jump in with the crowd
because it was just too onerous when it came to deliveries and things like that. You know.
Yeah, Arizona doesn't partake in it. And actually, it's been a while since I've checked on Hawaii, but yeah.
Yeah, but we adjust to it. I mean, as far as your sleep patterns, it's an hour either way. Isn't going to kill you.
No, not. I mean,
just going to make you wish you were getting.
It really, and an hour's difference doesn't make when you talk about the sleep cycle inside in your brain. That hour difference doesn't make much difference. It takes less than a day to actually adjust to that.
Oh.
It's the 3 to 5 hour difference you get from jet lag.
Anybody who's ever traveled to Europe or something like that knows it takes a.
Yeah, and actually, it's the way your circadian rhythm works is it's just shy of 24 hours, so it's easier to go forward in time. So traveling from west to east is easier, and you have less jet lag than if you go from east to west.
Good little fun fact there.
Yep.
I don't know. I always feel screwed up if I go to another time zone. I'm always a little off.
Yeah. There's there's medications, and then there's some supplements, and then there's some over-the-counter stuff that you can use to help kind of combat that.
Get yourself back on track.
Yeah, exactly. And then we were talking about spring break in between. That part actually is more so related to other types of sleep deprivation issues than
daylight savings time.
Daylight savings.
If you're at spring break, daylight savings time is probably the smallest part of your hangover.
Yeah, and it's not likely most of the folks are going to be up this early unless they're not gone to sleep yet.
Yeah.
But if they're hungover, there's some other stuff that you can do.
Last time you were here, we talked about the health risks of spring break, and we talked about over-the-counter drugs and prescription drugs, abuse of those things, but just good old-fashioned alcohol, it can be a health threat. Can it?
Oh yeah. I mean, and alcohol mixed with other stuff can kill you too. But alcohol just by itself can be a significant problem.
Is there really such a thing as alcohol poisoning? I've heard that term. Is it a medical term of art, or is it just something we laymen say?
No, alcohol poisoning, I mean, is basically an extreme version of drunkenness to the point where it can cause kidney failure.
Oh my God!
And people people have landed inside the emergency room with that. The other major risks that can happen with that, and people have seen it. When you get so drunk that you pass out and throw up. The poisoning part comes when when your body's ingested so much alcohol that your stomach says, "Hey, this doesn't belong here," and that's when it triggers the vomit response. And if you're too drunk at that point to guard your airway, is how they'll actually aspirate and they choke to death on their own vomit.
Holy mackerel!
Yeah.
Wow.
So
I guess the emergency rooms are pretty busy this time of year.
They always get busy, and especially among spring breakers, there's always accidents happening, and fights. We've been seeing stuff on Facebook already about that, about people getting stupid. Not much point in that really, other than just being a moron. So,
another medical term of art.
Well, it's funny. We were talking about this the other day. Is the youngest generation now actually uses negative notoriety as a playing card? Like they will purposefully behave badly so that they can get their picture and their video on Facebook
or YouTube or whatever.
Yeah, exactly. Or Instagram and those other social media sites, just so that they have people watching them.
I'd like to explore that a little further. We've got to run off to the local weather. We'll be right back after your Waking Up with Don weather. Welcome back to the show. I'm here with Dr. Roman Nation from Nation's Best Family Healthcare up in Lynn Haven and now on Panama City Beach. Doc, before the break, we were talking about spring break and some of the crazy stuff that goes on out there. We talked about alcohol poisoning and some of the other risks.
We talked last year about the needles in the clubs and things like that. With illicit drug use.
And for people who might have missed that, there were actually receptacles in bathrooms in some of the clubs on the beach where you can put your sharps when you're done.
Yeah, when you're done, shooting up.
I guess it's the club owner's way of keeping needles out of the
trying
sand.
to add some safety to it. Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. But like you said, last year that they were full.
Yeah.
And we've already seen outbreaks this year of fights and violence and things like that. So, and we're just getting started on that stuff. So.
I know. So really, I guess as a doctor, that is a health risk in itself.
The emergency rooms tend to line up pretty full. The trauma side is one thing, and the other side is the alcohol poisoning side of it. When people get too drunk to maintain their own consciousness, a lot of kids will try to just let them sleep it off, which on one hand is not always a bad idea. However, it gets really risky because if they're so drunk that they actually pass out, they can die. So the treatment for it really isn't that difficult. You hydrate the person, you give them some anti-inflammatory type medicines, and then you put them up with some vitamins. And we can do that in our clinic to help them recover faster. So there's actually there was one clinic in town that was trying to put up a mobile van that would set up outside like one of the clubs, so when people were stumbling out drunk, that they could just walk in and pay a couple $300 to get tanked back up, and then I'm good now, and they can go either go home and sleep or go back and party some more.
Is there really such a thing as a hangover cure? I mean, you hear all these crazy recipes on the internet, like tomato juice and things like that, raw eggs, whatever.
No, I mean, as far as a cure, the alcohol has to come out of your body by your liver processing it. So depending on how much you ingest, it just takes time. There's nothing that can overcome it. In terms of like speeding the process up, but you can kind of help mask the symptoms a little bit. The trouble you get into is folks when they start masking the symptoms with coffee, or they say, oh, well, I just need to eat something, and then all of a sudden they're better. It doesn't take away from the effects of alcohol, and then that's what causes accidents.
It just probably makes you feel a little better if you eat something.
Yeah.
You always should have a little something in your stomach.
It's the equivalent of what we do when people are sick when they get the cold and flu. We give them medicines in the clinic. The medicines don't necessarily make you better, or cure the illness per se. Your body has to do that. It just makes you feel better while you're sick, so you feel less sick.
We talked real briefly before the break about this generation, I suppose, craving attention in any way, and even negative attention is okay, I suppose.
Yeah.
So do you think that kind of encourages risky behavior?
There's a natural phenomenon when it comes to adolescence as we grow and mature, because we're trying to establish ourselves and figure out where our little spot is in the world. I mean, that's a natural development process. And as the generations go on, the busier parents get trying to make additional money to provide all the little gadgets and stuff that they think their kids need because they're living vicariously through them. Then they're there less often to provide the kind of guidance that the kids actually need.
I guess
so they start seeking it elsewhere.
Parents are busy, and it's only a natural thing. You want your kids to have it better than you had it growing up. And sometimes we sort of overcompensate for that, don't you think?
We overcompensate, and the main thing that most parents don't understand is the best thing you could ever do for your child is be there. Regardless of how much money you can provide, being there is more of a parental responsibility and a benefit to them than if you provided all the money in the world.
Just being a daily presence in their lives, to have that daily influence on them is probably more valuable than
and the thing
things
is,
you can give them.
if you want your child to kind of grow up and be closer to being like you, then they have to be around you to see what that's like. If you're not around and you're just expecting them to know that, oh, well, mom and dad was off at work all day, they don't really know what you did, and so they have to kind of, unless they experience it, they'll never actually see it for themselves and understand what it means.
I suppose there's a sweet spot somewhere between work and home, that work-life balance.
Mediation in all things.
That's right.
Moderation.
Moderation, and that too. Sometimes you need mediation too.
That's a legal term. But moderate stuff, and there's going to work is one thing, knowing that you got to be off, and then but being there is more important.
Wise words from Dr. Roman Nation. Thank you so much for coming on the show, and we'll see you next week, and we'll be right back. Welcome back to the show. I'm here with Dr. Aaron Shores from Spine and Neuropain Specialists here in Panama City and up in Chipley. Welcome back to the show, Doctor.
Thank you.
Last week when you were here, we talked about the psychological impact of pain treatment and operations that some people may have and limited mobility and all that stuff. And I kind of wanted to follow up on that. If you're undergoing pain treatment and then you get all better, I guess your mood will get better. But what happens if you're going to be in pain the rest of your life and you've got to undergo treatments to keep that pain at bay? What's the psychological impact there, and what are some of the therapies that you can give your patients?
Yeah. Well, everybody responds to that a little bit differently, but there are plenty of studies that have shown that major depression and anxiety go hand in hand with chronic pain. Because
Go figure.
Right.
Yeah.
Because when you're active and going along and living your life, and then something comes out of the blue that derails that for you, that sometimes can be very hard to deal with and very hard to accept. So one of the things that I find most patients that come to see us at our office that have these chronic conditions that unfortunately may not go away is they want to restore quality back to their life. And unfortunately, we're not always able to make everyone's pain go completely away. So in that approach, sometimes patients need medications, they need therapy, but oftentimes I find really to maximize their quality of life, they also need to consider managing their frustrations and their mood. And sometimes folks are more receptive to that than others.
So you would recommend counseling for some of your patients, perhaps?
Yeah, counseling, working with a psychiatrist or a psychologist in certain situations can be very beneficial.
But how is that received by a patient? I mean, particularly men, I would imagine, might get a little defensive about that. It might be an attack on their manhood, or maybe they're saying, "Oh, doc, you're saying it's all in my head."
Right,
You know?
and that's always the awkward conversation. There are some patients that have very good insight into the fact that they are depressed or anxious or frustrated regarding their situation, and those patients, I think, because of their willingness to accept their condition, the insight into their medical situation, they tend to do much better. Excuse me, it's the ones like you mentioned, and a lot of times it sometimes is men, because men as a species, I think we like to fix stuff and move on, just like if it was your car, but sometimes when it comes to the spine or other medical conditions, unfortunately, they just don't go away. So sometimes people do, you have to phrase it appropriately, and even then sometimes it's not well received because people feel like you are accusing them that it's all in their head, or that they're weak and not able to cope with it.
Yeah, and that's so true. There is such a difference between men and women when it comes to medicine, when it comes to health. I think women are probably a little more receptive to suggestions and a little more conscious of their habits, of their health habits, whereas guys,
Well, certainly there are folks on both sides of the spectrum that are amenable and not amenable to those types of approaches, but it is an awkward conversation for everyone to have, but I feel like it's something that is, sometimes it's the elephant in the room. It's just, it needs to be mentioned. And those folks that are willing to at least hear an opinion from a therapist or a psychiatrist, I think sometimes do better. And it also can sometimes help the physician treat them better, because sometimes just taking a pill isn't going to be the solution. There's a lot of abnormal thought processes and coping strategies that need to be improved. Also, there are alternative therapies like guided imagery and biofeedback and hypnosis that some patients that are motivated can do quite well with, that also can control their pain, which can be done by the psychiatrist and psychologist.
So there's a whole array of therapies that you can offer people, rather than just say, okay, you got to get on Shrink's couch and tell them about your childhood. I mean,
Right.
I mean, there's a whole bunch of different things you could do to improve people's moods and their outlook on life if they're undergoing these type of pain treatments.
Absolutely.
Dr. Aaron Shores from Spine and Neuropain Specialists, thank you so much for coming on the show and getting us smart.
Thank you.
We'll be right back. Welcome back to the show. I'm here with Christina Williams from Superior Residences here on Panama City Beach. And I got to tell you, I recently walked through that place in its completed state. What a facility.
Thank you.
Christina, I mean, I walked through there. We did a little show there one time when you were under construction. And Lori Becerra showed us around. You know, now this last time I went out, Paula had taken me on a little tour. I was curious. I was out on the beach. I said, let's see the finished product. You had your grand opening. I heard it was a great turnout.
We did. We had about 500 people come through our grand opening a couple weeks ago, and we were just so excited for the turnout and that the community is supporting us in this new resort-style senior living.
And it's kind of unique to this area.
It is.
Having this type of assisted living facility.
It is. It's very unique. It's the first one in the area. We offer a movie theater. We have a lounge. We have a chapel. We have a lot of things that you don't usually associate with an assisted living community.
And it's not like a nursing home.
No, not at all. We do have 3 levels of licensure, which allows us to provide extended care. So someone can move in with us and truly age in place. They most likely would never have to leave and go to a skilled nursing facility. They can stay with us until end of life if they so choose. but it's not a nursing home. Our staff wear black pants and polo shirts. The nurses station is called a wellness office, so it's very resort style, and we want it to feel like home, not institutional.
Well, yeah, I walked through there and I looked at the theater, and I know you have that little meeting room where you have happy hour now. And
Yes,
has a bar.
the Grand Heron Lounge, where we
Grand
offer
Heron Lounge.
daily happy hour serving beer and wine, as well as hors d'oeuvres from our chef.
That's just awesome stuff, and the kitchen is like, like
Kitchen's huge.
state of the art.
Yes.
It's an awesome place.
Yes, sir.
Now, some people are resistant. I have elderly parents, and they're at home, and they don't want to leave home, and this is their house, and all that stuff. And when you're dealing with an elderly parent, right away they think of the old days. Oh, you want to put me in a home? And this is just not the case.
This is not the case. Besides the amenities, we have very spacious 1-bedroom, 2-bedroom, and studio apartments that have kitchenettes. They have refrigerators, microwaves, granite countertops, crown molding. Each unit has its own air conditioning unit. I mean, it's very much an apartment for our seniors to live in and enjoy retirement.
Now, you've had a lot of these units already reserved, I suppose.
Correct.
No one's moved in quite yet?
Not yet. We're still waiting on our licensure from the state. We expect to move residents in later this month, 1st of April, once we have the all clear from the state.
Are the units still available?
We do.
Okay.
We have quite a few reserved. However, we are still pre-leasing and taking priority reservations, so those who are interested can come reserve a room, and they'll get to move in that first wave of move-ins.
Yeah, I walked through there, like I said, very casually, and looked at the 2-bedroom with a balcony, and I'm like, geez, I could live here. I mean, it's a pretty comfortable little environment, particularly if you're elderly and you need maybe a little extra attention or a little extra care. Nurse is just a push button away.
Correct. There's a button each resident will have that they wear as a watch or a necklace, and they just push the button and the staff will respond.
Yeah, little putting green out there.
Putting green,
deal,
yes, sir.
And so you don't have to be totally decrepit to live there.
No,
I
no.
mean, you can just age in place. You can go there, get a nice little place. Husband and wives moving
Correct.
together there.
We have a lot of couples that are moving in, and sometimes one spouse needs more care than the other. But the great thing is you can move in with us, and you can have as much or as little care as needed. We have a lot of people who are still very independent, driving, going to meetings, and doing things.
Thank you so much, Christina, and we'll be right back. Welcome back to the show. I'm here with Randy Akins from 5L Fitness. And Randy, so good to see you, my friend.
Good to see you too, man.
You're keeping them fit out there, I suppose.
We're trying to.
And when I say out there, you've got some news to break here, don't you?
Actually, out there now includes not only Impact Fitness, but also Tyndall Air Force Base as well.
So you are you're a trainer at the Tyndall Air Force Base gym now.
5L Fitness now provides personal training services exclusively at Tyndall Air Force Base.
Oh, that's awesome. So now I got to tell you, when the military says you got it together and you're allowed to practice your craft here, you're doing something right.
I guess so.
Yeah,
I
well,
guess
congratulations
so.
on that.
Thank you.
And you're going to have to come back and tell me how good shape these airmen really are in.
Some are good, some are bad. I can give you a report now, but I'll wait for a little bit.
Yeah, okay, we'll wait for that.
For a little bit.
Now, enough about you. Let's talk about me.
That's why we're here, right?
I got that big fireman reunion coming up.
Right.
And I left the New York City Fire Department in 1996. I was in great shape.
Right.
Well, since then, time is
20 years ago.
Yeah. Time has taken its toll. What can I do? What can I do to get in shape? I don't want to be the flabby guy.
It depends on what you want to do. A lot of people think that you have to go to a gym or you have to do all of these different things. You need to figure out what kind of time you have, and once you do that, you can make your fitness journey start wherever you want. So you can start from home. You can do body weight movements, or if you want to go to a gym, there's a lot of things that you could do there to where it doesn't have to be overcomplicated.
Okay, so regardless of how old you may be or how bad shape you may think you're in, it's never too late, is it, Randy?
Never, ever too late. And a lot of people think that old age prevents them from doing things. And
if you're trying to make me feel better, that old age thing ain't helping.
But it doesn't really matter. Your body will adapt to whatever you throw at it. So, and if you are older, not saying you are, but it's best to stay in some type of routine because it's healthier for your joints and bones and a lot of your internal organs and stuff too. So,
so a routine is good, just like getting up and eating breakfast. That's a routine.
that's a routine, yeah, and we spoke about that.
Yeah, just
some
like
too.
brushing
Yeah.
your teeth is a routine.
It's a routine. Yeah.
So should a workout be,
And the
I
more you
suppose.
do it, the more you get used to doing it, and it'll become a part of your life.
Yeah. Now, how important is diet to that routine?
Diet is equally important, in my opinion. Well, actually, I think that there's 3 things that are important. That's working out, your proper diet, and rest and recovery. And
Okay.
those 3 things balance out how much you're going to be able to improve your physical conditioning.
Okay, well, you know, I'm interested in doing some of that, and you and I are going to talk after the show a little bit.
Right.
But maybe next week you can show me a couple, maybe a little routine I can do at home
Okay.
to get ready for the fireman reunion, so I'm not looking like a slouch in front of the guys.
Not a problem. Yeah, we can definitely do that next week.
Randy Akins, 5L Fitness at Impact, and now Tyndall Air Force Base Gym. Thanks so much for coming on the show.
Thank you, Don.
And we'll see you next week.
Yes, sir.
And we'll see you next time.